Okay, just waiting for the feed to go live. Okay, and there we go. Welcome everyone to our second session for this morning. In this really cool webinar, I'd like to introduce you guys to Danie Jacobs. Danie is he's a very renowned entrepreneur and businessman with a very long career. And he's currently heads up a business called Gigxup, and he's developing couple of really cool thought-leading ideas. And I asked him to talk to us about the fourth industrial revolution this morning. So welcome, Danie. I appreciate taking the time to talk to us.
No, thanks, Eugene, and it's great to be part of this initiative, and congratulations on a wonderful platform. And I hope that and I know for a fact that it will go from strength to strength.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. So, yeah, everyone, I'm going to leave you guys. And I will, again, like in the previous sessions, I'm the moderator. So please engage. We've got a couple of really great polls. How's it, Lucky? How's it, Dario? I see we've got Joey involved. Yeah, thanks, guys. So I will basically fire up the polls. And please interact with Danie. Great. I'll see you guys online. Danie, you can take it from here.
All right. Thanks, Eugene. And for everyone watching, good morning. Eugene gave me a time limit of 40 minutes. Now, there's very little in life that I can get done in 40 minutes, but I'm gonna give it my utmost best. All right. So the topic of this morning, I posted a couple of weeks back. I posted this equation on social media saying that 4IR, the fourth industrial revolution, plus COVID-19 equals total reinvention of the world of work and business. And based on that, Eugene said, listen, come and have a chat on this and explain exactly what you mean. Let me introduce myself, Danie Jacobs. Like Eugene said, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an academic, I'm a consultant, and I'm a child at heart. So I've established a couple of businesses throughout my life, a couple of them that I want to highlight. I was the founder of the Center for Business Dynamics, the commercial unit at one of the business schools in the country. I founded ILSC, a consulting company focusing on business model repositioning. I founded Young Entrepreneurs, which we do entrepreneurship, financial literacy, employability, and workplace readiness skills for children. I founded Young Entrepreneurs Foundation, which is a non-profit organization. We've got about 6,500 kids in townships all across the country that we teach business. I founded the Young Entrepreneurs Virtual Academy, which is the first online business school for kids, teens, and young adults. And then my latest venture is Gigxup, the Gigxup Mastermind Academy, and I'll talk about that a bit later. All right. Let me start off by saying a couple of weeks back for that matter, I had what I depicted as the perfect storm building in South Africa. And within this perfect storm, I said, all right, there's a couple of components. And you can see the word perfect has been scratched out for the moment, because then we were handed a script that is reading like something out of a fucking horror movie. And with apologies for my swearing, but there's no other way to explain this. But I mean, this perfect storm that I'm speaking about had 5 components, 6 components. And first of all, obviously, we focused on the throughput rate. At this stage, we are lucky if, let me turn that around. 60% of grade 2s never get to grade 12. 48% of grade 10s never get to grade 12. There's a total misalignment and a disconnect between what we teach in school and university and what happens in the world of work and business. And our school system is absolutely crap, and it's got a fundamentally flawed purpose in the sense that everything boils down to subject choices at the end of grade 9, matric exemption, and then access into higher education. So that's the one element. Second element, in terms of our education in general, like I said, it's totally misaligned. There's a youth bulge or a youth bubble in the world. A third of the South African population is younger than 15. We also have a huge problem in terms of globally. About half of our global population is younger than 30. And there's just too much young people coming through, which is supposed to be a great thing and playing in our advantage, but unfortunately it's not. And then a total economic slowdown with failure of the state government, our unemployment rate, worse than that of Zimbabwe and Greece, and we know what they went through. We are the only country in the world with an unemployment rate of more than 20% for 20 consecutive years, and we are regarded as the most unequal society in the world. And you can imagine post-COVID, this is just going to go through the roof in all of those elements. And then also being part of a developing economy, you can imagine that we struggle to retain quality employees. So we lose a lot of doctors, teachers, and professionals as part of the brain drain. So that's, in a sense, what I depicted as the perfect storm. Now, you can imagine this being a ticking time bomb, as it is. And then, not very rosy on its own, and then the next thing that happens is COVID-19 arrives. But you can see what I replaced my perfect storm with. And my perfect storm was replaced what I said, but maybe this is a perfect opportunity. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to reset everything that we know. And we can see this happening. We can see this from a government perspective. You can see that our president at this stage has got leeway maybe to introduce a more constructive economy going forward, which he never had the opportunity to do. You can see him having room to move in terms of certain state-owned enterprises. You can see enormous amount of innovation and creativity happening in educational institutions at this stage. You can see an enormous amount of the reinvention of business models. So, I mean, that for the moment. I want us to take just one step back. And I noted some observations and predictions and research when it comes to the fourth industrial revolution. And obviously, you can imagine an enormous amount of young people wants to join our job market. But it's very important to understand this, that linking to the perfect storm is the fact that our job market, our formal job market, is shrinking and not expanding. And remember, I'm speaking pre-COVID. Our formal job market is shrinking and not expanding. And this is a very important component to realize. So some notes, and I'm not going to go into detail to this, but I mean, some of these pre-COVID predictions was that many of the current leading companies, as we know them, within 15 to 20 years from now, they won't be there anymore. About 30 to 50% of jobs that we take for granted that today will not exist in 2055. Thomas Frey still predicts that about 2 billion jobs will be automated and will disappear by 2030. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But more concerning in all of this is the fact that there's about 1.8 billion young people between the ages of 10 and 24 in the world. And half of those, 50% of those, will not have the basic necessary skills to participate in the workforce and in the emerging workforce by 2030. So that's just where the world of work stood in terms of pre-COVID-19. And you can imagine that many of these things will be impacted, and I will address some of that going forward. Very important to understand through this is that I normally speak to parents and I say, listen, you must understand that your kids will probably live to be 100 years old. They will change 10 different jobs by the time they get to 40. They will have 17 different jobs in their careers. They will not retire. Retirement is something that's it's gone. And then many of them said, listen, but is this realistic? And I always refer them back to, and I refer to this as the grandmother scenario. The grandmother scenario is simply this. Imagine 30 years back sitting with your grandmom and say, listen, I want to show you and I want to introduce you to the 21st century. And in this scenario, you will have a discussion with her and you will talk to her about Google, the internet, the 24/7 operations, 24/7 news channels, online shopping, driverless cars, 3D, the fitness trackers and nuclear power. And your grandmom will think that you're absolutely crazy. The thing is, in the next 2 decades, the 20s and the 30s, we will see more disruptive change as a result of technology than we saw in the previous 100 years. Now, if you've got primary school children, by the year 2080, they will still be in the job market. They will still be participating with members of the world of work. That's 60 years from now. Remember, you had this discussion with your grandma 30 years back. Right. So, I mean, that is just, and normally my response is met by silence, because this is just realities that we sit with. Now, the reasons for all of this, very simple. The emergence of the fourth industrial revolution, disruptive technologies, and then you see if I've incorporated the COVID-19. And I just want to quickly share with you with a video in this regard.
So keep watching. Let's see where we're heading. It's also exciting. So keep watching. Let's see where we're heading. It's also exciting, right? Siri will recognize your voice even if you're 5 meters away from your phone. That new chatbot feels totally real. Self-driving cars are no longer fiction. You can analyze your DNA. You tried flying that drone for the first time, and you're thinking of buying a smart speaker to make your life so much easier. A few years away from your phone. That new chatbot feels totally real. Self-driving cars are no longer fiction. You can analyze your DNA. You tried flying that drone for the first time, and you're thinking of buying a smart speaker to make your life so much easier. A few years from now, and that's something like 3 years, not 30, artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, mass 3D print, biotechnology, chatbots, virtual reality, deep learning, drones, augmented reality, smart objects will all be deeply enrooted in our everyday lives. Just like computers, phones, or electricity are for us today. Oh well, is this really gonna happen? And if it does, you'll adapt when the time comes, right? Life is good. You love your job. You've been working for this established company for a few years. You're comfortable in your position. You know what you're good at. People like you, and that last presentation you gave got you some amazing reactions. You're safe with your company. In the meantime, you see an article or two speculating on the future of jobs. McKinsey published a report stating that 45% of all current tasks could be automated with present technology. The World Economic Forum estimates that 33% of jobs in 2020 don't even exist yet. But what do they know, right? You've got time. Oh look, the supermarket just introduced self-cashier machine. You're at the airport checking in luggage. What the heck happened to all the real people at the check-in desk? Gone. Replaced by machines. But it's only the low-skilled jobs, right? Nope, think again. In 2012, there were 150,000 humans working on Wall Street. 3 years later, automation has cut that number down to 100,000. That's 1/3 gone. But it's only the mathematical and scientific jobs, right? Nope, think again. This Japanese insurance company, Fukuoka Mutual Life Insurance, is already replacing all its human insurance claim workers with an AI system that will handle customers more efficiently. See these articles? They're written by algorithms, and we can't tell the difference with human written content. And thinking of converting yourself to being an online poker player? Too late. There's an AI that can already beat humans at it. Most journalists, tax consultants, marketeers, technicians, knowledge workers, lawyers, even the person editing this video right now will to some extent have been impacted. If you're watching this,
I'm just going to start this again. For some reason,
if you're watching this, you're among the 3% of people that understand that the future of work is going to look very different from what it is now. So keep watching. Let's see where we're heading. It's also exciting, right? Siri will recognize your voice even if you're 5 in luggage. What the heck happened to all the real people at the check-in desk? Gone. Replaced by machines. But it's only the low-skilled jobs, right? Nope, think again. In 2012, what the heck happened to all the real people at the check-in desk? Gone. Replaced by machines. But it's only the low-skilled jobs, right? Nope, think again. In 2012, there were 150,000 humans working on Wall Street. 3 years later, automation has cut that number down to 100,000. That's 1/3 gone. But it's only the mathematical and scientific jobs, right? Nope, think again. This Japanese insurance company, Fukuoka Mutual Life Insurance, is already replacing all its human insurance claim workers with an AI system that will handle customers more efficiently. See these articles? They're written by algorithms, and we can't tell the difference with human written content. And thinking of converting yourself to being an online poker player? Too late. There's an AI that can already beat humans at it. Most journalists, tax consultants, marketeers, technicians, knowledge workers, lawyers, even the person editing this video right now will to some extent have been impacted or
All right, the video is not giving us its cooperation, but that's fine. Eugene, can you quickly introduce, I've got a poll there. Can you quickly introduce the poll with the first poll of today? So my question is simply, have disruptive technologies and the fourth industrial revolution influenced your profession? Yes or no? Has it influenced your profession, the introduction of disruptive technologies? I mean, yes. The majority of you, yes, yes, yes. One said no. All right, the majority, yes. So I think that's very evident where we are at this stage in terms of disruptive technologies, the fourth industrial revolution, and what we can anticipate for the next 2 decades or so. Right, let's quickly move on. And obviously, there's certain drivers of 4IR, but I'm not going to go into details a bit around this now. But I mean, it's 3D printing, it's virtual currency, it's online retailing, robotics, the Internet of Things, augmented reality, artificial intelligence, big data. I mean, those are the drivers. Let's quickly pause with the world of work post-COVID-19. Now, I can assure you, despite the fact that it's one of the most serious health crises of more than a century, it will be one of the biggest destroyers of traditional jobs. I mean, that's just the point. But I want you to make a mental note. I say traditional jobs, right? So just make a bit of mental note on that. The International Labour Organization predicts that in terms of the global workforce, that we will lose about 7% of working hours in the second quarter of 2020. That's the equivalent of 195 million jobs. 195 million jobs, second quarter of 2020, gone. And McKinsey says that in the regions as diverse as Africa, Europe, the States at this stage, we can anticipate that about a third of the workforce will be influenced either by a reduction of income or by becoming totally redundant and being laid off as a result of this crisis. And you can imagine, not if, the fact is millions of people will lose their jobs permanently. That's just, I mean, the reality is a bit around this. But I want us, in all of this, just to pause for a moment. As a result of the fourth industrial revolution, we already saw some structural shifts happening as a result of the fourth industrial revolution. We already saw the move towards automation. We already had a formal job market that was shrinking and not expanding. We already saw the increased demand on specific skills, and the World Economic Forum spoke about your higher order, the cognitive level skill sets, those that cannot be automated within the fourth industrial revolution. And we also saw already technological advances as a result of 4IR and how this was reshaping the labor market, specifically certain industries and certain professions. All right, so that is just a reality that I want you to. So all that COVID-19 did was it fast-forwarded the effects or the anticipated effects of the fourth industrial revolution. Nothing more, nothing less. It must be a blessing in disguise because the status quo that we had was not that sustainable at all. In South Africa, for instance, we can anticipate that within the next 6 months, 30% of corporate jobs will vanish. That's just a reality. It was inevitable. I want to emphasize this. It was inevitable to happen anyway. The time frame for this happening has just been shortened significantly. Now you can imagine 30% is about with 1 million corporate employees that will have to upskill, reskill, and reinvent themselves within the next 6 months. They've been defined, and they defined themselves based on the specific brand or the company that they represented, the specific job title that they had. And now they are back to square one in terms of who am I, what can I do, what value can I bring to the world, and what difference can I make? So how can I commercialize myself again? There's with a couple of positives out of COVID. And I just want to say that one of the positives is obviously pressing reset. With the benefit, it's a great benefit of COVID. COVID-19. We will see a renewed emphasis and focus on local production and manufacturing. Our industrial base has been hollowed out for many years in South Africa. And it's an ideal opportunity for us to rectify that. Less imports, more local production and local manufacturing. And you'll also see more and more people driven by their passions, seeking purpose, and really working and making it a priority to live a life of significance. All right, so that is just some of those. And then a couple of other things that I will highlight. And it's not necessarily as a result of COVID, but it contributes, but also as part of the 4IR. Yes, the 4IR, COVID-19, and disruptive technologies will make jobs disappear. I fully agree with that. But most in numbers will come back, and we will see the trillions of dollars being generated in new and innovative industries. So contrary to what many people believe, I truly believe that we are moving into an era of superemployment. We will see an unprecedented amount of innovation, collaboration, and creativity within the next 2 decades. We will also see that we are embarking on what I refer to as an entrepreneurial playground for startup junkies and entrepreneurs. So that's also where we're moving towards. And the biggest question is, do we have as individuals the capacity for this change to upskill, reskill, and reinvent ourselves? Because that's the era in which we are moving. Now, all of this poses a great opportunity, but also a great threat. And I'll emphasize that now. And I mean, this is the crux of where we are going from a world of work and business perspective. 50%, if not more, at least 50% of all new jobs will be structured as freelance projects rather than full-time jobs. I mean, and this is the emergence of what we refer to as the gig economy, or the gig or the freelance economy. This is one of the biggest shifts in the world of work and business. Even pre-COVID-19, it was the fastest growing job market in the world, becoming a full-time employment opportunity or a full-time occupation. And what COVID-19 has done is it cemented this reality. Again, it shortened the time frame. So the trend towards the gig economy has not only just begun, COVID-19 has forced us into it full blown. So that is just the reality of this. So the future will lie in independent contractors. The future will lie in contingent workers. And it's very interesting to note that even pre-COVID-19, 80% of corporates said, but we prefer a more flexible workforce going forward. And it allows them the ability to contract you for 2 years, 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 hours. So, I mean, this is just where we are going. I watched a webinar of Prof. Herman Singh the other day, and he said the future of work is like a movie set. So the moment that the movie is finished, what you see at the end is, after the end is a script of everyone involved. So the future of work is all about speciality areas, and skill sets. And you must decide how this is going to look going forward. One thing is for sure, linear sequential career paths is over and done with. It will become, with a permanent job, will become a relic of the 21st century. 9-to-5 jobs, over and done with. Your career will be replaced by a portfolio of jobs. So a portfolio of jobs will replace the concept of a career. So we'll see a huge increase in freelancers, part-time workers, project workers, contract workers. But what will be missing is having a single employer. It makes sense. In terms of having an employee expense, now you convert that into a variable cost. Imagine where COVID-19 sits now from a corporate perspective. This is exactly where the corporates will go. This is exactly where the corporates, they were heading in that way anyway. So this is exactly something that we will grab onto instead of having permanent employment expenses, is to convert that into variable costs. So given all these realities, we will see a huge increase in self-employment, personal and micro business numbers. And I mean, this increase is going to be substantial going forward. It was predicted that by 2027, there would be more white-collar freelancers than people in permanent positions. It was predicted for 2027. I can assure you that in the next 12 months, we will be there. That is just one of those realities that we need to understand. What I'm depicting here is also making it very important to understand lifelong learning, to develop new skills permanently, to stay relevant within the 21st century. And it's not about the accumulation of certificates or degrees, not at all. It's about having a skill set that you can commercialize. So it's about continually keeping you up to date. And the future of education lies in MOOCs, it lies in short certificate programs, it lies in online learning, self-paced learning, self-education. That's just the future of education going forward. So the future of work is all about adaptability, it's all about flexibility, it's all about mobility. And the illiterate, and I mean, this is important for you to understand. The illiterate of the 21st century is not going to be those that cannot read and write. It will be those that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Your inability to upskill, reskill, and reinvent yourself continuously going forward, that's going to be the illiterate of the 21st century. So this is very important to understand this as well. There's a couple of gig prerequisites. I call it gig prerequisites. You can call it post-COVID-19 prerequisites, 4IR prerequisites. Doesn't matter. But one of the very important things is that I always get asked this question: do my children still need a university degree? Do I still need a university degree to succeed in life? And despite certain professions and occupations, my answer is no. Why in the hell would you go and sit for 3 and 4 years in a higher education institution, be fed knowledge which is obsolete in effect, be fed knowledge that you can get mahala for free on Google? And I haven't seen the last page of Google yet. So, and many of this knowledge that they get is totally outdated. And we are preparing them for occupations that might not exist by the time they graduate. They might not have the opportunity to enter the workforce. So our education institutions in general are failing to prepare our students and our students for probable futures that they might encounter. And in a post-COVID-19 scenario, I mean, this is just exponentially the case. You can imagine that COVID-19 ushers us in a new direction for education. If you look at with the new paradigm, the effects will be enormous. Online education, enormous. We need, at this stage, rapid reskilling. So we need to reskill at pace and at scale. And your conventional education institutions cannot do this. They are not geared for this. And the thing is that many of our higher education institutions within a 4IR COVID-19 and post-COVID-19 scenario, they will have to change beyond recognition or they will cease to exist. That is just the reality in terms of where we stand around education. What our children and what our young people, whatever all need is in terms of real-world exposure and experience. We need more emphasis on industry-specific micro-learning and vocational and artisan training. We need to pivot back to basics. That's just how it is. And this free higher education bandwagon that everyone jumps on, it's totally counterproductive of what the world of work and business needs. It's totally counterproductive in a post-COVID-19 scenario. And the premise that good grades and a university degree will cement yourself into a world of work and financial security, invalid. And the number of unemployed graduates, even pre-COVID, it proved this point. You can imagine that the number of unemployed graduates going forward, it's going to increase exponentially in a post-COVID-19 scenario. All right, so that's also something that we need to understand. What we need is a marketable skill that can be commercialized. What are you good at? What can you do? And a lot of corporate employees, millions of them within the next couple of months, will need to understand, who am I? What can I do? What's my marketable skill? What's my value proposition? what can I bring to the world? So this is just important to understand as well. Eugene, can you quickly, all right, there's a couple of polls in there. Thanks, Eugene. I get carried away, and for that reason, I totally forget about the polls. I'm already participating in the freelance economy. Yes, there's a very high probability, likely, that the current role position will be outsourced. Absolutely. And it's very important that you understand that although you might have a specific skill set at this stage, I don't say you must move away from your skill set. It's just a different paradigm in how you will be, with how we will be paid for that. Will be in a permanent position, or will it be on a more freelance contract basis? All right. Very important as well is going forward is we need, in a post-COVID environment, from an education perspective and a gig prerequisite perspective, we need collaboration. We need a multi-stakeholder approach to truly and honestly channel our students into specific directions. So we need a proactive intent and action. Because at this stage, there's a total misalignment between our youth's aspirations, industry's expectations, and our education institutions that must build this bridge to close this gap. I mean, that's just how it is. What we need to think is we need to rethink business. The future is all about individuals being pushed to acquire high-level cognitive skill sets, that those that cannot be automated, very important, and also to be equipped with entrepreneurial mindset attributes to compete within smaller and more specialized industries. So this is just something that I need to emphasize in terms of the fact that we need to rethink business and rethink education. Entrepreneurship. Why I'm saying this? Being an entrepreneur in the 21st century, being an entrepreneur in a post-COVID-19 scenario, it's not just about starting a business in a conventional way. It's about establishing a micro-enterprise, having a specific skill set, starting a micro-enterprise, offering a service for a period of time, and you shut it down as the manager moves on to something else. At this stage, we've got young people, younger than 30, that takes their first sabbatical or early retirement out of the job market. They upskill, reskill, and reinvent themselves, and they re-enter. So it's all about outsourcing and micro-sourcing, or outsourcing versus micro-sourcing, and you will employ the services of an individual, of a very small company, to fulfill a specific function for a specific period of time. You will pay them handsomely for their unique skills and competencies. But it's for a certain time frame. So we will see more people that will have to work for themselves. That was the case from a 4IR perspective and from a disruptive technology perspective. Post-COVID-19, even more so. You will see more people that will have to work for themselves. You will see small companies and entrepreneurs abound. And the imperative for this is, do you have the skills, the competencies, and the attributes to really understand this? I've been saying this all along, entrepreneurship education. We've been teaching entrepreneurship in this country for the last 100 years. For some reason, not for some reason, I mean, there's no entrepreneurial culture in this country. There's no entrepreneurial mindset in this country. Yes, there's, many reasons for that. Our social grant system is one. But the problem is you can't teach entrepreneurship. It's easy. What we do is we get the packaging wrong. We teach business science, business theory. We teach business with acumen, and we think we are teaching entrepreneurship. No, entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset consists of attributes that are being installed through repetitive experiential exposure. It's from a very young age. But all right, that aside, let's carry on. I've got a couple of minutes left. It's evident, and you will agree to me, that the conventional system that we had was broken. I mean, it's just how it is. So the system was broken, and COVID-19 was just the last straw. Nothing was sustainable in our previous, in the status quo that we maintained. The corporate world, the sustainability in terms of certain business models, the sustainability around with travel and the planet, and nothing was sustainable. Our education systems in preparing the kids for the world of work and business, young people for the world of work and business, skill sets, all of these, I mean, nothing worked. It was just a question of time for this to pan out. Yes, we anticipated all of this as a result of the fourth industrial revolution, huge opportunities in that. COVID-19 just came and showed us, listen, the education is, for that matter, everything is broken, and you need to press the reset button much earlier and much faster than it was anticipated. Now, obviously, in terms of this, you always have people that want to go back to normal. I can assure you this, there's no normal. Life will never return to what we used to. Not from a world of work perspective, not from a lifestyle perspective, nothing. Which is not a bad thing. So the new normal, if you want the new normal, you can decide. You can either, you have a choice in this. We can either ignore what we are busy with, or you can really grab and embrace this new world of work and business that we have going forward. Then also, it's just, like I also said, there's danger in stupidity. And I hope that many of you use this opportunity to really press the reset button and to understand what the new you will look like as we go forward. We might have had the luxury to ignore some of these realities. We might have had the luxury to ignore the unsustainability of many of the things that we were busy with. But we don't have that luxury anymore in a post-COVID-19 scenario. Then very important, and I truly and honestly think that the destination for many of us, yes, we want everyone to be business owners in the traditional sense of the way, being employee, but within that, there's certain systemic barriers and challenges. And I can keep you busy with another 2 webinars just on that. From an employee perspective, you can imagine the companies that now we've got rid of millions of employees. They won't re-employ them within the next couple of months. Not at all. So we push towards where the gig or the freelance economy we're going on 4IR anyhow. So the destination, and I truly and honestly think that the destination in future lies around the freelancing. It helps you to bypass barriers into traditional employment and or business if business seems or traditional business seems out of reach for the moment. So the future lies in freelancing. The future lies in the gig economy. It was our destination in any case, and COVID-19 we just cemented that in no uncertain terms. You need certain X factors, and I refer to this as the X factors. You need some Red Bull to operate and to stay and remain relevant within the fourth industrial revolution, to stay and remain relevant within a post-19 economy. And I just highlighted some of them, and we've got extensive programs on these. Self-leadership and discovery. You can imagine post-COVID-19, a lot of people trying to figure out who am I, my strengths, my weaknesses, my purpose, and my passion. And for each and every one of us, our reset button looks different. Diligence. It's not just hard work. It's just hard work in a specific direction that you are passionate about. Resilience, so important. Having a rubber ball mentality now more than ever. Being part of 4IR, the new economy, the new world order, post-COVID-19, very important. Resilience, a growth mindset to truly understand that. And I assure you, millions of corporate employees will quickly need to sort out and find out what a growth mindset is, and the ability to upskill, reskill, and reinvent themselves. That's just a reality. Also, communication and networking in these times, extremely important. The teamwork and collaboration, very important. Innovation on a personal level, on a business model level, complex problem solving, digital literacy, extremely important. And then obviously the brand called me, the brand called you, is something that you need to work on going forward. So the winning mindset, I just want to share with you, and I wrote something down in terms of the winning mindset. You can call it an entrepreneurial mindset, you can call it a winning mindset. I want to script in terms of what your framework should be in a post-COVID-19 and in a 4IR environment. The winning mindset, it's a state of mind. It's a certain way of thinking. It is the fabric that you need to propel yourself despite your immediate circumstances. It's how you solve problems, how you see opportunities, and how you adapt to change. It's also the ability to embrace failure, to extract value from mistakes, and your disposition to take calculated risks. You're a dreamer, you're a problem solver, you're a lifelong learner, you're accountable, you're driven by self-reliance, and you take responsibility. You see the world differently than the rest. You have an adjusted mentality. So that's exactly the framework that you need going forward. I want to conclude just to invite you to go and look at our website, gigxup.com. What I've done is this little freebie for you on our website. So go to our website. There's a free workbook on developing resilience. So work through that resilience. It's the end of the month, so I can imagine there's blood on the streets from a debit order perspective and from a... I assure you, you will survive this, all right? So from a debit order perspective, accounts payable perspective, the salary payable perspective, it's chaos. It's absolutely chaos. I promise you, you will get through this, all right? Nothing will happen. The sun will still rise tomorrow morning and the day after and the day after. It's all about your mindset. And then also, I want to invite you to the Young Entrepreneurs website, younge.co.za. Nice programs for all your kids, especially for... there's two self-paced programs that I want to emphasize. One is called License to Lead for grade 10, 11, and 12, just to leapfrog them into the world of work and business and post-school. And then there's also a program, Launchpad, for unemployed and underemployed graduates and final year university students. So from my side, Eugene, that's
cool.
That's it.
Yes, well, thanks a lot, Danie. That was amazing. I was keeping up with all the slides, and they're absolutely so relevant. So thank you for taking the time to talk to our audience and being part of this online seminar and conference. So everyone, thank you for your participation and contribution towards the polls. As always, this video will be available in about half an hour offline, and then at the end of the whole conference, all the videos are available for everyone to go and watch. So our next speaker, just to quickly introduce him, will be Dr. Thando Sibanda. That was our second speaker yesterday, or our third speaker yesterday. He's got another amazing topic. So once I end this webinar, you will be pointed to the registration form for Dr. Sibanda, and he will start at 11 o'clock. So thank you, Danie. I really appreciate it. And thanks for the audience. I'll see you a little bit later. Go well, guys.